Alright, welcome back. This is a review for Fruits Basket Season 2, Episode 3, or Episode 28. Before I actually get started, I want to say that Funimation came out yesterday, evening, saying that starting with Episode 3, the dub will be delayed due to Corona-chan, as some might call it. And which is this episode, meaning that episode 4 and onwards, dub-wise, we don't really know when we'll be getting those. Now, I watched it both sub and dub, so it's not too really big a deal for me. But if you're watching it just purely dub-wise, it might be a while before you get an episode 4. And I'm going to miss it regardless, because I've enjoyed getting to watch it both sub and dub. Anyway, but now hopefully, nothing on the Japanese side, sub-wise, has been announced, saying they'll be delayed, so hopefully that will continue. But just at the current moment, just the dub has been delayed. Anyway, on to the actual episode, which is a very Yuki and Ayame centric episode. Now, this episode in particular is kind of interesting because it actually combines. I mean, this was the same with obviously the two previous episodes as well, but unlike the other two where they kind of had it to where in segments, where it was like you had, given the last episode, for example, where you had the stain portion of the episode and then you had the laundry story portion of the episode. This is a little different because they kind of really kind of mixed it together. And it works. It works. But it's just, unlike with the other two, where it's like maybe they were anywhere between maybe 6 or 7 chapters apart in the manga, this is like, I don't know, like 10 to 11 chapters apart in the manga. So, so this is 2 separate chapters mixed together, and they do it well. I don't mind that. It's done really well. It's just that because they mixed it together, there are some things from the second chapter that are kind of left out. But I don't know. So let me get into this. So. The 2 chapters, and I'm just going to refer them as the Ayame Shop chapter and then the Yuki Garden chapter, and I'll get into that in a second. So, the Ayame Shop chapter, which is Yuki and Tohru visit Ayame Shop, is chapter 36, I believe. And in that one's case, if you've seen the original anime series for this episode, because this is the final episode for those who have seen the original series. This is the final episode that hadn't been animated, that was animated in the original. So from this point onwards, any 2001 anime onlys, it's going to be all new content. But in this case, it's the chapter and the original 2001 version of this episode are pretty. Well, they're pretty similar, like really similar. And the basic premise of that episode is Ayame comes over. Well, it actually starts with Tohru and Yuki standing in front of Ayame's shop. Then it flashbacks to Ayame coming over and Yuki being like, "Sure, I'll go to your shop." And there's a funny moment with Ayame like freaking out and running over to Shigure because at the time in the bath, taking a bath at the time, and Shigure is like, "Oh, okay. I'm glad that you're happy, but I'm kind of taking a bath here." And pretty much everything that you see within this episode plays out how it does in the chapter, with the exception of a small portion of the, besides the beginning of what you saw in this episode, dealing with the peaches, and Yuki, and seeing Yuki's mom. That happens in the garden chapter. But the only real other thing that takes place is the conversation that Yuki and Ayame have, which it's only a portion of it, because in the Ayame Shop chapter, pretty much the conversation they have starts where Ayame asks Yuki about becoming student council president. And that's the conversation that they have in that chapter. So they combined that with I'm just going to call it the Yuki Garden chapter, because in that one I think it's chapter 47, which again, that's a pretty big gap between 36 and 47. So this is probably the biggest gap that they've had so far of combining chapters into one episode. And then that one, it starts off, well, this episode starts off with where it's Yuki wakes up from a dream of having his mom say, you know, oh, you're just a tool, whatever. Then Ayame comes over, and then there's the whole thing with the peaches. Now the difference is that he doesn't rip the shirt there. Instead, they're just kind of talking. There's a little interesting fact that Shigure mentions about how both the crab Ayame had brought over previously, you see it at the end of season 1, and the peaches that he brought over are things that Yuki liked as a kid. And so, again, this is a very Ayame-centric chapter or episode, so it's very, it makes sense. It ties into the fact that Ayame is trying to learn. He is trying to reconnect with Yuki in any way that he possibly can. But anyway, so in that chapter, it's, you know, he says he's going to be with him the whole time, so Yuki eventually gets irritated and walks out to go attend his garden, and Ayame follows him, and at one point, Yuki's shirt gets ripped, and so that's when they kind of, eventually when they're at his garden, that's when they eventually have the conversation about the parent-teacher meeting, and Ayame telling him, you know, you're not as alone as you think you are, you know, I'm there for you, basically. What is it? I can't think of what it is right now. I just blanked on it. I just had it in my mind and it just flew away. There it is. I just thought of it. Of him explaining about, you know, how he wanted to make something tangible, so that's how he wanted to create something that would still exist without him, and so that's why he got into sewing. And of course, he says that as he's at Yuki's garden, which is exactly what Yuki did. Now, of course, they did it very well. They transitioned it very well in the anime, in the animated version. And again, they just took the setting and turned it into one long conversation. They completely took out the setting of it all, but they kept some portions of it, and then they just had the conversation between Yuki and Ayame last longer, which it works. It's good. And then of course it's just Ayame's in his shop in this case, and he says that, and Yuki thinks back to his garden as Ayame's talking about it. But that's kind of the big differences, I'd say. It's this, unlike last episode where it was very clean cut of, oh, these are the two separate chapters, and they just kind of mixed a little bit. They just kind of swapped a little bit around. In this case, they really very much so they interspliced them. They mixed them very well, so it became a thing of, it's just a little bit harder to go through in terms of the differences. I will say one of the things that I'm really glad about that they didn't, I know that some people thought it was funny from the original. Again, the original series tried to make this a lot more comedic, but one of the things that it was always annoying for me was that in the original series they added a comedy bit where Ritsu's mom shows up and like breaks the fourth wall and has like this 3-minute bit of her going crazy and like trying to recap things, and it's just like it was not good. It was for me, I know it was just really annoying. So I'm glad they actually didn't do any addition. I wouldn't have imagined that they would, but I like that what they did here. But the episode itself is, again, you learn that Yuki and his parents obviously don't really get along, obviously, and that Yuki's he pretty much says that his parents sold him out, and of course you'll find out more about that later. I won't give too much information on that. But then you get Ayame who thinks back and says, yeah, I pretty much sold you out as well at that point in your life. I abandoned you just as much as they did. I'm just as guilty. The one time that as a child that you reached out to me, I rejected you. And it's something that I've regretted all my life, and it's the one thing that, thanks to Mine, that he learned that the thing that he fears most is being, like, just having Yuki feel indifferent towards him the way that he felt indifferent towards Yuki when Yuki was a child. And now that's the thing that he fears the most, that Yuki will pretty much not hate him, but not like him either, and then just pretty much ignore him the rest of his life. Pretty much, in a sense, kind of what Yuki's doing with his parents, and that he just doesn't have that he just doesn't want to have contact with them. And Ayame doesn't want that. He wants to repair the relationship. And so you get, and then you also get their beautiful, I wouldn't say beautiful, but it is, oh, it could be beautiful depending on how you see it. But there's really sweet little saying of him, of Ayame going to Yuki, you know, you're not as alone as you think you are. You know, you don't have to struggle. There are people out there who will help you, and are by your side, and that will be there for you if you need it. And it's such a sweet little episode. And I mean, it's funny. Granted, it's a funny any episode with Ayame and it tends to be funny. In some way, it tends to be, but it's a really heartfelt episode. And another thing, and that this is just Natsuki Take's writing, is that Ayame isn't like in a lot of animes you'll get characters they'll either be all good or they'll be all bad, and they're not really gray, right? Or if they'll be presented as, oh, they're kind of this gray character where they're kind of bad but kind of good. But the thing that makes them bad is not really that too consequential. It's kind of goofy or something. But in Ayame's case, it's like, no, he ignored his brother. He was indifferent towards him. He did something that would be in any other case, if you had just known Ayame from that point of view, you'd go, yeah, you wouldn't like his character. He'd be seen as a bad character. But you see him now, and you know who he is, and you see how much he's changed and how much he's considered a good character now, but you look at his past and you go, yeah, if you had just known him from his past, he wouldn't be considered a good character. But he wants to change, and he's trying to change because he wants to rebuild the relationship with his brother because he's realized what his faults were. And, well, in a sense he's realized what his faults were, but he's realized what he did wrong and how he treated Yuki as a child, and he wants to change that relationship. And that's, again, it's something that Natsuki Take is really good at writing, and taking characters and making them be more than just a one-dimensional, like, oh, this is their trope and that's it, that's all they're about. No, she really is able to give characters depth, and you see that in the first episode of the season with Motoko, and that she is originally, during the first season you run into her and she's like, oh, she's just a one-note tropey character, whatever, goofy, and you just kind of ignore her. But then in the first episode of the season, what do you get? You get her realizing that she has issues, that she herself isn't, you realize that she herself has depth, because she comes to the realization that she doesn't like the way she is. She doesn't like the things that she thinks about other girls. And it just shows Natsuki Take's depth of writing, and just how good of a writer she is, character writer she is, and making the characters really feel human, and that they're not just one note. They have a lot more, humanity to them. That there's more than that they are more than just the trope that they're kind of initially based off of. But anyway, it's such a good episode. It's so sweet. Next episode's gonna be fun. Again, for you anime 2001 anime onlys, from now on it's all new content. And next episode's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. Oh, it's gonna be fun. Fortunately, again, as I said at the beginning, we won't be getting the dub, at least probably not for a while. I don't know when, obviously. That'll be up to Funimation. But we'll at least still have the sub, and hopefully we can at least get the first core of season 2. I'm at least hoping for that much. I'm hoping that we can at least get the first core before it gets delayed or anything like that. I hope season 2 does not get delayed, but if it does, I at least hope we can get through the entirety of the first core, because that would be great. But that's really about it, so thanks for watching, and bye for now.